Hello, everyone, and welcome to Birdview's weekly workshop. I'm excited to have you all join today. Our weekly workshops take place every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific. We cover a different topic each week, and you can register for our weekly workshops through our website under the Events tab, or you can use the link that's displayed on the screen right now. I encourage you all to join as many of these sessions as possible. We cover a lot of tips and tricks on how to make the most of Birdview for your work. With each session, we do start with a demo on the topic that we are covering, and we then use the last 10 minutes of the session to go over any questions that you may all have. So please feel free to send in your questions in the chat or simply raise your hand virtually. We also have a Q&A option within the Zoom link if you have a question. So our topic for today is Birdview's new and improved resource management module, where we cover the resource planning piece that we have added to the system recently. We'll start with understanding what the new resource planning is and what you need to set up within the system in order to use it to the best of its ability. We'll then discover the different elements within the system and how it works. And finally, we'll go over some points that are good to keep in mind when using the system. All right, so what is resource planning? So within Birdview, the new resource planning system will help you plan for projects with named resources, unnamed resources, as well as by using a soft allocation and a hard allocation. So this means that you will be able to plan for projects whether or not you know the team or the team members that you would like to assign to the project. And you will also be able to allocate hours based on tentative assignments, as well as confirmed assignments. You can also work with skills and assign team members based on their skills rather than by naming a specific team member in the system. So what are the system requirements that you need in order to use the resource planning module efficiently? So first, you have to ensure that you have a project created. So I have a project here. You need to ensure that you have your tasks that are created within that project. You need to assign your due dates, so start dates and end dates, and you need to have your team assigned to this project as well. Now, I did mention that you can add named resources as well as unnamed resources. So a named resource in this case, if I hover over this task right here, we have Cassandra and myself, Denise, that are named resources. So we are added users to the system. But we also have an unnamed resource here with the name data analyst. So this means that for this task, we do need a data analyst, but we aren't quite sure who that person is right now and whether or not we have that person with that skill set within the system. Similarly, if I hover down here, we have marketing manager as an unnamed resource that has been created, and then we have Benjamin, Denise, and Fabian as named resources within the system. Now, if you were to add an unnamed resource, I'm just going to click right here to add my resources. If I needed to add more team members, I can pick from my teams right here. I can pick project members that have already been added to the project, or I can pick any of the non-project members as well. Those would be my named resources. And right at the top here, I have the option to add an unnamed resource. So if I click on that, I can give that resource a name. I can also select the job role that I want this resource to have within the system. And I can also select from a list of skills to add for this specific resource. And then I can go ahead and add that resource. All right, so it is as easy as that to go ahead and add your unnamed resource. All right, so we know what we need now. We need project, task, due dates, and assignees. In this case, I have also added some scheduled hours to these tasks for these team members. So let's move on to the elements of the resource planning module. So you can find the resource planning module under the resources tab here on the left-hand side. You have three options. The first option is the planning option. And when you click on that, you are now able to see the project as well as all of the team members that are assigned to the project and the tasks within that project. So that's what the resource planning module is going to show you. It's going to show you what you have so far in terms of your team members in the system. You can also see the skills that each of these team members have. For the unnamed resources that you see at the top here, these were the skills that were added when we added these team members to this project. We can see the scheduled hours and we can see the allocated hours. Now, you can add more columns if you need to right here. So if I click on columns, I can simply toggle on and off the columns that I want to view right here within the system. You can also look at your resources and their hours right here. So I can decide to do it on a weekly basis or a daily basis or a monthly basis. So if I toggle on to monthly, it's going to show me by month. For now, I'm going to keep it in the weekly option for this specific project. I do have a filter on for just this one project right now, but I can also add multiple projects or maybe add projects based on start dates and end dates. Basically, all of the filters that you have within the Activity Center will also show up here. Another very important thing to note is that you can choose to show your scheduled hours in here. So if I toggle this on, I can now see for each resource, what are the hours that have been scheduled within this system. So how does this work? How can we make changes to it? How can we add more resources to it? Well, adding resources is extremely simple. You can simply choose to add a new user right here, or you can add an unnamed user from right here itself. And if you'd like to go ahead and schedule more hours, you can, so let's say for Cassandra right here, we don't have any hours that have been added for her. So we can go ahead and click on more actions. We can add allocation from right here, or you can simply do it right here in the Gantt view. I simply press Shift and I can click and drag to add those dates. Now, when I do that, this add allocation box is automatically going to show up where I can alter the start dates and end dates or leave them the way they are, basically the way that I drag them right here. I can also add the percentage. So am I using 100% of Cassandra's time, or I can even change this up. Let's say I want to use 75% of Cassandra's time. It's automatically going to indicate how many hours that is for Cassandra. As you can see here, this is being calculated based on the company schedule. The working hours are 8 hours and 30 minutes a day for Cassandra, for the company. And I can choose to allocate this either soft or hard. Now, soft would be tentative allocation. If I'm not sure whether or not Cassandra is going to be working on this for this specific time, within these hours, I can allocate softly, or if I know for sure and it's confirmed, I can go ahead and add a hard allocation. So let's go ahead and add a hard allocation and hit save. And that's going to automatically appear as a hard allocation. I also have the option to switch out my unnamed resources for team members that are named resources within the system. So let's pick data analyst, for example. I can do it from right here, where I can replace with a user, or I can simply generate or find candidates at the project level as well. So let's click on find candidates, and the system through AI is going to give you some options for this. So for the data analyst, the option that they have specified is Olga. And then for the marketing manager, we have a user in the system called placeholder. and that's what's being specified. I can choose to change this. I can look at the recommended users and pick one of the recommended users. Let's say if I pick participant 1, it doesn't look like there's a job role match, and the skills that match are 1 out of 3 skills. Availability is 100%. Or I can choose to stay with Olga, where I have a job role match. Olga doesn't have the skills that I need, but she is available 100% as well, and pick the allocation, and then we can go ahead and allocate. Now, you can pick this. So if I'm converting an unnamed resource to an actual user within the system, I have the option to switch that over to hard allocation, or I can keep it at soft allocation as well. In this case, let's keep it at soft allocation because we don't have the skills to match right now. All right, so that's automatically going to change. We now have Olga in here, and we do not have anyone for our marketing manager as well as yet. If I click on generate allocations here, it's going to automatically generate the allocation for that unnamed resource, and we have soft allocation because it is an unnamed resource. If I do it for a named resource, we can switch that over to a hard allocation if we want. In the system, we have a color differentiation for a soft allocation versus a hard allocation, and you can make your changes accordingly. All right, so this is how the resource planning module works within the system. There are a few points that are good to know. As I've already mentioned, hard allocations cannot be assigned to unnamed resources. So it's important to note that when you are adding unnamed resources to the system. However, you can convert those allocations to hard allocations once you generate, once you add a named resource to that unnamed resource. It's also important to keep in mind that this has just been an introduction to the resource planning module. We do have a number of different feature enhancements that are coming to this module in the month of June. And this module is going to be available in a beta version to all of our users within all of their accounts. However, if you are looking to upgrade to add this feature long term, you do need to add the Birdview PSA Enterprise version of the system. And if this is something that is important for you to have within the system, please do reach out to us and we can give you some options in terms of how we can go about adding it to your system. All right, so I'm going to stay on this page. Does anyone have any questions on this topic? So we have Chandra Klein that has a question on whether or not the milestone level projects are going to be, let me read this question out loud as well. So in our system currently with the resourcing, sometimes we will create milestone level projects to let our team know what's coming in the future. However, it counts against their resources. Will that work the same way with this new system? So you do have the option, Chandra, to add projects as draft projects, in which case it does not go against your resources. Is that something that you are currently doing?
I don't believe so. That's helpful to know. Thank you.
Yep, so I can quickly take you through what that looks like. So if you are in the activity center, if you go to status, you will have a draft option in here, right here. And if that is selected, it's not going to go away from the existing hours for that resource. And once you know that the project is going to go live, you can change it to the status of your choosing. All right.
Thank you.
No worries. Do we have any other questions connected to this topic? All right. So next week we begin our reporting month. Our topic for next week is an introduction to reporting and dashboards. So we'll talk about the different ways that you can report within the system and how you can create your own reports as well. And on the 13th of June, we'll dive deeper into the out-of-box dashboards we have within the business intelligence module. Once again, you can register on our website or simply use the link that's displayed on the screen right now. You do have the option to sign up for all of the workshops in the reporting month all at once if you want to, or you can do it individually as well. We do send out a recording to everyone that has registered for the sessions once they have been completed. So you can share that with internal team members, or you can take a look at it a second time as well. I do want to point out that we have now completed our resource month within a Birdview, which means that we do have a monthly webinar that's going to take place on the 21st of June, where we will cover the resource planning module in a little bit more detail, also showing the additional features and functionality that will be coming in at that time. So please do sign up for that webinar as well. It is a 1-hour session that's going to take place on the 21st of June. And you can register for that on our website under the events tab as well, again, using a link that's on the screen right now. Thank you for joining today. I hope that the session was helpful. Your suggestions are always welcome. So if you do have any recommendations for topics that you would like us to cover in the future, please do send in your responses to our success email that's displayed on the screen right now. And we will be sure to get back to you with those answers as soon as possible. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day. See you next week.